What's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka the Honky Tonk Hair Machine, with the Rugged Revival podcast. Who am I with today?
Name is Shane Kelley.
Shane Kelley, thank you so much for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Happy to do it. Long time coming.
So I like to start these conversations off with this question. I feel like it kind of gives us a little peek behind the curtain and who you are. So, you can answer as extensively or as little as you want. But where are you from and what was life like for you as a kid?
So I'm from a small town in North Florida, about 45 minutes from Georgia, called Green Cove Springs. It's a little swampy town, middle of nowhere. Our claim to fame is the band Leonard Skinner. They used to have a barn type place they practiced in called the Hell House, and that was in Green Cove Springs. So that's kind of like, what I grew up on, was just thinking Leonard Skinner was God's, and that definitely sparked me, my interest in music. But I mean, man, there was nothing to do out there. I mean, I wake up in my front yard and is a cow field, and there just wasn't much to do. So my grandpa, who he passed before I was born, he decided he wanted to be a guitar player, and he never did anything with it. He just bought the guitar, and the only things that I have from him is his guitar and this Merle Haggard songbook that came with the guitar.
That's and, really
cool. Yeah, so it's still got the American Music Store from Lane Avenue, Jacksonville, Florida sticker on the front, which is pretty cool.
That's wild.
But no, man, I hit got it. My parents wanted me to play guitar when I was younger, and they bought me a guitar and put me in lessons. And I think after like a third or fourth lesson, the guy told my dad, he was like, "Hey, man, you're wasting your time. This kid just does not care." And then, one summer when I was like 13, I smoked pot for the first time, and I heard an AC/DC song, and I was like, hell yeah, dude. Like, this is it. And just kind of went from there and picked it up and just kept going with it ever since.
Yeah, man, that's the beauty of it, right? You can make guitar playing as flourished as you want, or as simple and driving as you want. You can do your own thing with it.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about Skinner is, they had three guitar players in the band, and all three of them just had their own sound and different styles. And that's what kind of taught me that every guitar player, you could put the same guitar and the same gear in any guitar player's hand, and it's going to sound like them. It's going to sound like their influences, the way they play it. And, it's definitely something like a band like Skinner taught me, was just versatile guitar playing. You had one guy doing all the heavy, raunchy solos, and then you had like Ed King with the laid back Fender twangy kind of guitar style. And so growing up, being from Jacksonville, man, it's like the Southern rock capital. Like the Allman Brothers were formed here, Molly Hatchet's from here, 38 Special, Skinner. I mean, it's Blackfoot,
you're surrounded by it, man.
Yeah, so I just grew up into a lot of that shit, wanting to be a rock and roller, but a rock and roller from the South,
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. So you started playing guitar pretty early on. When did you finally start taking some of your original music and taking that to the stage?
Man, original stuff. So I started playing in like a bar band when I was like 14. And my dad always loves to tell a story of me being 14 at a bar with a bunch of 50-year-old women around me, and I'm playing, Call Me the Breeze with my little, as good as a 14-year-old band can do it, but
sure.
I guess it was good enough for my dad to be like, damn, I can't believe my son's playing at a bar at 14 years old. But
yeah, that's incredible.
As far as original stuff, man, like I really didn't, I played in like punk rock bands and, hardcore, whatever. Mm-hmm. But even those bands, like, I remember the first show, like my punk hardcore band played, years ago when I was like 17. And I remember all them guys were like, "You're not going to wear those cowboy boots on stage, are you?" I was like, I mean, yeah, why not? It's, but to them, it was just like, this is a little different. And then I get up there and, one guitar player's playing a heavy riff and I'm just doing like this bluesy Albert Collins style lead over it. And shit. So I never really did like full on, there was always traces of my musical influence in a lot of that stuff. But as far as like me being like a solo songwriter kind of guy, man, I didn't really start doing that until my late 20s, maybe when I hit 30, and
Mhm.
then that's when I started, because being when I was younger, man, all I cared about, I just wanted to be the best lead guitar player. I want to be a good lead guitar player. Didn't really focus on the songwriting as much. And then finally it hit me one day. I was like, man, nobody gives a shit about the lead at the end of the day. It's all about what the overall song is delivering. So maybe I should brush up on my songwriting chops. So I didn't really start hitting that until about like 30.
Okay. And but that's the thing, right? I think that's what really drew me to you and what's going on with like you artistically is that you're unapologetically yourself. You
Yeah,
get
man.
up, which
And that can be a good and a bad thing, but yeah.
oh sure, but you get up there and it's raw, it's like, yeah, I'm in a hardcore band, but I'm going to wear my snake skins.
Yeah, man.
I'm in
That's
I'm in a country band, but I'm doing me. This is what I'm doing. This is who I am.
right. And I do put a lot of that on my parents and my family. I'm pretty close with my family and everything. And I remember the first time I told my parents, I was like, "Hey, can we have band practice over here?" And they're like, "Oh yeah," they're so excited, they can't wait. And then we set up in the living room and we start playing, a heavy metal, hard rock type shit. My parents are like, "What the fuck is going on?" So they wouldn't, they kind of made me dress how I dress, because
Yeah.
they wouldn't let me. There was a time when I was younger, I wanted to pierce my ears and dye my hair blonde and do that, and they were like, "Oh, you ain't doing none of that." They're like, "This is," and you know what? Looking back, I'm glad they didn't let me, because I'd be damned if I saw a picture of me with blonde hair.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've got plenty of those myself, so I can send them to you
yeah,
later.
yeah. No, actually, one of my good buddies back in Richmond, Chris Wilson, he
Oh
said
yeah.
he said he knew you, and he was like, "How do you know that dude Camden?" And I was like, he's just a supporter of the arts, and I met him at a gig and just kind of stayed in touch with him since. But Chris spoke pretty highly of you too. He was like, "Man, that dude is covered in tattoos. You ain't got no room to put a tattoo."
Yeah, Chris and I have some equally embarrassing photos of really tight leopard print jeans and big hair.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
But
I love that guy. He's cool.
he's a good dude for sure.
So you have a lot going on as a solo artist, and it's in my opinion, it takes a lot of balls to get up there. You're on stage. It's in your case, from what I saw, it's you and an acoustic guitar. There's nowhere to hide,
Yeah,
you know.
man.
So what are some of the challenges you face when you're trying to bring the best representation of yourself to the stage?
Like for me, it's like I'm not a very big people person as is. Not that I don't necessarily like people. I really think growing up in the middle of nowhere just kind of made me a little socially awkward. So getting up on stage has always been, I've done it hundreds of times, thousands of times, but I always still get a little bit of some jitters, you know what I'm saying? Right before I
Yeah.
get up there, because it's just me, when it was easier, like I lived out in Austin for a little bit, I had a band there, and
Mhm.
playing in bands in my teenage years. It's easier when you got a unit on stage, and it's like, well, they ain't just looking at me, they're looking at all of us.
Right.
And then, when being just me up there, as far as like challenges I face, I mean, it's mainly, like talking in between songs. Me personally, I just was like, I don't want to get up on stage and be like, well, I wrote this song when I was going through this, and this song is about this. You listen to the song, tell me what you think it's about,
Yeah.
and if you, because I mean, writing songs and having friends that are songwriters and stuff, there's people write songs, and I'm sure it's like you could have meant something totally different, but somebody finds some relation in that way, and it makes it personal to them.
Yep.
So I like to, describing songs like that and stuff on stage. I'll do it every now and then, but for the most part, it's, I just want you to feel the music and just see an honest representation. There's a man on stage with an acoustic. I'm not flashy. I don't dress flashy. I wear t-shirt and jeans and boots.
Mhm.
Um, all I want to do when I get up there is connect. And, of course you'll play some gigs, and
Mhm.
you'll be able to tell, like, this is bombing, man. Nobody cares about this shit. Everybody's at the bar getting drinks and stuff. And then you'll have those nights where, you hit one certain chord with your voice and you can tell it strikes somebody, and that kind of helps you get through it. But man, I think that's part of, I kind of get in my own way a lot because I don't put myself out there enough. And I've been working with some guys out in Nashville on some new songs that I've been kind of working on, and I always wanted to do albums. I'm like, man, I like to make albums. I like to make cohesive projects, but obviously we just live in a different time now where it's, so I'm sitting on, I got 8 recorded songs. I sent you a couple, and I really, I'm trying to adapt to the new world. People want to get in front of cameras and talk and stuff, and that's just never been me. But I'm trying to learn. So I think part of what I'd like to do is I'd like to move out to Nashville for a little bit and kind of soak up the creativity that a lot of these new and younger people are doing. Because when you do everything by yourself, you it's all up to you. You know what I'm saying? But when you're working with a group of other people, you thrive off their creativity and their drive, and that kind of helps you motivate and see things differently. So, um,
I think it's important to find your tribe, of course, but at the same time, when you find yourself bending to fit something, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel,
sure.
as true. And yeah, we're in the era with like, content, and I hate that word, but I think
Yeah, I mean, but it's true. This
yeah,
is
it
this is what
is.
we.
Yeah, you got to promote constantly. But some of the characters that I think do really well with that, like Danzig's Instagram stuff is great. He doesn't do a lot of frilly stuff. He's just like, look, man, here's me playing live. Here's an interview I did. You're not going to see me in the Walmart parking lot. You're not going to catch Danzig, doing the floss dance in a Walmart parking
Right,
lot.
right. Love Danzig. God, those first 3 Danzig records are incredible.
Exactly. Or even like someone like, Lemmy from Motorhead, he's like, look, man, I'll do my interviews. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find Lemmy out there doing Gangnam Style on
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And it's like, but like I said, I just coming to terms with that's the world we live in. I want to try to find a way to navigate it to where it's still authentically myself, but
Yes.
I'm trying to appease what I
Sure.
said the other day, like people's iPad baby brains, because it's like it's all everybody's attention span is just so quick now, myself included.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and that's and I even added you on my recent band project, the Black
I
Flame
saw
Death
that.
Cult.
Yep.
That's these are horror stories told in a 1 minute, 1.5 minute clip. And that's on
Yeah.
purpose.
Right.
It's almost like that Instagram page, 2 sentence horror stories.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's real quick. It gets your attention. Then hey, we're off to the next thing. I mean,
Right.
it is pretty wild that that's where we're at, right? Like when you listen to someone like John Moreland, he's sitting down and he's playing the songs. It's just him and a guitar. There's that audience too. But it's like, how do you stand out still in the modern era and be like, hey, here's what I'm doing, but I need the audience still.
Right.
That can be pretty tough.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to navigate, but I guess the way I look at it is I make music. I've always made music and written, done songs and things like that. And like I said, as long as I can find a way to make it like authentically myself, and I don't
Yeah.
feel like I'm just trying to keep up with the time. You never want to feel like, oh, I'm just trying to keep up with the times, but
Right. Absolutely. That's exactly right, man. It's like how do I use this tool to fit what I'm doing
right.
versus I'm just trying to keep up with the trend kind of thing. And then it's not authentic, man. You're not gonna get the real fans. And as soon as you do something they don't like, suddenly, they drop you really quick.
That's how the world goes now, man. It's a strange time to be alive for sure.
So I know you've done, a little bit of touring here and there. I mean, just from what I've seen. Have you done a lot of touring, and where would you want to tour to?
Yeah, so I mean, I toured a lot when I was playing in like punk bands and stuff. I mean, we toured all over the country. I would keep those guys. I did all the booking back then, and I would keep those guys gone for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. I just loved being on the road. I still love being on the road. I honestly think one day I might end up a truck driver just because I just enjoy being on the road.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, my wife and I have even talked about that too. We're like, what's next? We're like, Maybe we just hit the road, man.
Hey, like I love seeing places, new places, experiencing other cultures, like I'm from Florida, but I moved to Virginia, lived there for a while, and then I moved to Texas, lived there for a while, and it's just cool to see how different everybody lives. But as far as places I'd like to get to, man, I'd really like to play outside of the country. Anywhere outside of America would be great. I've always felt like people outside of America just have so much more of an appreciation for the arts. And, a lot of these places, they don't, the overflow of live music and stuff that we have. So when bands or artists do come there, they're just that much more excited.
Yep, absolutely.
Um, Circle back to like the Skinner thing, they played in Japan in, right towards the end of their career. First time they'd ever played Japan, only time they ever played Japan as the original band. But it is so funny to see, all these people in this complete, opposite side of the world country that are singing along to, give me three steps and stuff like that and loving every minute of it.
Yep.
So it's just like us. We see other cultures and, you get fascinated by it. For some reason, those other cultures do the same with us. They're fascinated by these dumb hillbillies that, make this music. And
Well,
so,
I think it's like you said. I think it's humans. As humans, we're always looking for connection and relatability to each other. And I think when people from the other side of the world see these long-haired boys and leather pants and biker jackets and get up there and they're
mhm,
shredding, they're like, I want to be part of that. Like, what's going on there? So they're
yeah,
they're connecting to it because it is, like you said, it is so different from what they're looking at.
exactly.
So I really like what you got going on. I've seen a peek of you got some rings there. I can see a little bit of your tattoos. Can you
Yeah,
give us a
yeah.
rundown of the jewelry you got going on?
So let's see. A couple of these rings, two of these rings right here were from I've heard you talking about them before, Outlaws Amsterdam.
And that's what this is
Um,
about.
yep, solid company. A couple
Uh,
rings are from them. This ring right here, oh, I thought it was a little feminine, but it
that's
was
cool.
one of my best friends who just passed away a few weeks ago. He made jewelry. He was a big hippie guy and did a lot of festivals and sold jewelry and stuff. And this was one that
Wow.
he made. So I've been kind of holding on to that one. But
Yeah, that's
I really
brutal.
I really never been like I said, man, I grew up, I loved bands like Skinnerd and loved Pantera and
Mhm.
all these guys, they were just hillbilly dudes that they wore t-shirts and cut off short or jeans. They didn't dress up fancy. Ronnie wore a hat.
Uh-huh.
I got a hat, got a couple hats, but I try to keep it pretty stripped down and simple, man. T-shirt, jeans. You'll never see me without a pair of boots on. I mean,
Yeah.
around the house, I'll wear some Crocs or slippers, but other than that, man, it's pretty much just always boots, jeans, and a t-shirt.
What's the piece you have on around your neck?
Oh, that is also, I believe, from Outlaws Amsterdam. I've had it for so damn
Yeah.
long. Which and actually, I've been wanting to get into the market to finding some new jewelry to wear because I've been wearing the same stuff for so long. But again, it's
Mhm.
just one of those things. I just don't that side of it doesn't appeal as much to me. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I love dudes like Charlie Crockett, who dresses to the nines every time you see him, just always looking,
Sharp.
But me, I'm like, man, I just couldn't do that. God, you don't get hot
Yeah.
on stage, boy. Like, come on, man. But you
Yeah,
look damn good.
yeah, he's sweating through all that stuff.
Oh, for sure, man. But whatever. He looks good, and that's all. I guess that's all that matters for the most part. And his music's good. It'd be one thing if his music was bad and he dressed that good. I'd be like, are you
True.
compensating for something? But
What's has Chris done any of your tattoos?
yeah, man, he's done a few, just like little stuff. He actually just did. It's on my Instagram, it's covered up, but he did a heart with my buddy Kirby, his name on it for me, and that's actually when we talked about you a few weeks ago. But no, a lot of my stuff was done here in Jacksonville at Inksmith and Rogers.
Okay.
Throughout my 20s, and then I moved to Austin. I got tattooed out there one time by this chick Brittany Elliott. Um, But again, that's another one of those things. I mean, I like tattoos. You know, I've got sleeves and whatever, but I
Uh-huh.
just there's 101 things I got money to spend on, you know, and it's tattoos are great and I love them, but that's definitely kind of a back burner thing for me. Fortunately, I've always become pretty good friends with tattoo artists who are they're like, hey man, I've got 2 hours to kill. I'm bored. Buy me a cheeseburger and I'll
That's the way
get
to
you a little
go.
something. So
That's right.
I've been pretty fortunate with that.
Yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, look, I was able to build a good collection, honestly, early on in my teens and 20s because
Yeah,
that's what we were doing. We were playing gigs, and then we were going to hang out at the tattoo shop, just
same.
chilling.
Exactly the same.
They
Yeah.
get some downtime, and I was still cutting hair at that point, so you trade a couple of haircuts and fades for a
Yeah,
little
man.
zapper.
Get a little banger. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but that's
Absolutely.
true, dude. The older we get, like it's just like you say, you got 101 things you got to take care of, and the tattoo collecting tends to slow down a little bit.
Yeah. But then, when time goes by and then you end up getting one, you're like, ah, man, this is what it's like. I forgot what it's like to get that nice, especially once that thing heals up good enough to where you can scratch it again. It's like, hell yeah, we made it
I,
through.
I don't know, man. The older I get, dude, it's getting harder and harder to sit. It's
Oh yeah, for sure. I've never understood those people that are like, man, I just love the pain of getting tattooed. I'm like, well, you're fucking crazy because
yes.
I don't necessarily like it, but I like the final product. So
Yeah, I feel like my bones are going to jump out of my body now when I'm getting tattooed.
no doubt.
So this actually brings us to the end of the road, man. Like I said, we keep it short and sweet. I know you have one album out now. Do you have
Yeah.
anything that you want to promote now? Any gigs? Any singles coming
Man,
out?
so like I said, I've kind of just been using the last 6 months to chill. Like I put that album out earlier last year, and dude, I'm sitting on a plethora of recorded songs that,
Hmm.
like I said, I was going to compile them and put them out as an album, but I think I've just been convinced to put out a single every few weeks and
Yeah.
just to keep traction circulating or whatever. But man,
Yep.
if it was up to me, I'd dump them out on the internet right now and say listen to it and
Yeah.
wouldn't touch it
That,
again. But that's just not how things work anymore. So
that's right.
again, that's
You got to get added to the playlist. You got to get added to all the
all
things.
that. And it's
Yeah.
crazy because when I was living in Austin, and I did like a South by. There was like a week of South by gigs. I think I played like 16 gigs in like 5 days or something. It was a
Wow.
lot of fun. A lot of fun. You'd play at one bar and you pack your shit, run over to the next bar, set up, play. Um, but while I was out there, whoever curated the playlist for there's a TV show called Ozark.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it. I'm familiar with it because of this, but somebody who curated the playlist for that show out there asked me if it was okay if they added one of my songs to the Ozark playlist, and I was like, yeah, shit, I don't give a fuck.
Hmm.
And I wake up the next day and it's like my streams just spiked like crazy, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
Um,
That's how it works. It's so weird, but yeah, you know what? That's the tools that we have.
yeah, so trying to navigate how to learn how all that stuff works, and like I said, I've moved back home for a little bit, try to get on my
Mhm.
feet, and I don't think I would ever make Nashville a permanent home, but I've met a good group of people out there that I can tell are just driven, and everybody out there has that artistic drive, and that's really something that I need to surround myself with to keep the creative spark within me going, like because
Right.
I'll always lay in bed at night, reach over, grab the guitar, come up with a good little one liner or something, but then I don't have anybody behind me being like, all right, well, let's keep it going, let's keep it going. And
Hmm.
then next day I'm on a roof maintenance in HVAC rooftop unit, and then you get home and you don't want to do anything. You're tired, and I just need to get back to a city where I'm surrounded by people that are pushing me and driving me. Because otherwise I'm just going to do everything at my own rate, and then I'm gonna wake up, be old, and just not give a shit anymore. So
And that happens quick, man. So
it
remind
sure
us
does.
where can we find you on the socials?
So Instagram is Shane Kelley. There is another Shane Kelley out there from Texas with my same exact spelling.
Of course.
I feel like he and I have had like friendly rivalry over the years because
Uh-huh.
people will go follow me and they'll be like, "Yeah, I followed you," and I'll look and I'll be like, "Oh no, you followed the other guy."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's Shane Kelley, Kelley, on all the streaming services and Instagram. I'm pretty bad at social media. Like I have a TikTok, but I hardly use it. Over there, I'm pretty sure it's just Shane Kelley as well. But yeah, just ShaneKelley. Look for a guy with long hair, and that's a little broody looking, and that's probably me. So
Right on. Well, like I said, I appreciate your time, and it's been really nice to talk to you. And
yeah, man.
and hopefully we can catch you out at a gig soon.
Yes, sir. And I think I actually will be back up that way, Richmond area in April, opening for somebody at the Broadberry. It hasn't been announced yet, so I've hold on to that for a minute. But yeah, I'll be playing at the Broadberry sometime in April, back up in Richmond. So
that sounds good, brother. Well, look,
yeah,
I won't
man.
let you go, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, buddy. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Bye.
Later.